Earl Spence versus Terence Crawford will be the biggest welterweight fight in history, but Jaron Boots Ennis will be the people's champion. What's good, y'all? It's your boy Cardinal Red Sports. Let's talk about it. All right, y'all. So I was going through some pages on YouTube, trying to find a new topic for a video, and I ran across, of all people, Blue Blood Sports, and he was reporting that Jaron Ennis put out some news regarding the Earl Spence fight and how he feels that Earl Spence will vacate the title and not return to 147 simply because he doesn't want to fight him. And I just want to give my thoughts on why I feel like, that could possibly very well be. What I do think Earl Spence's plans are for the welterweight division. Why I think Terence Crawford and Earl Spence will have the biggest welterweight fight in history. And why Jaron Ennis will be the people's champion. So let's break all that down. So let's start with Earl Spence vacating the title. Do I feel like Earl Spence is going to vacate the title, and is it solely because of Boots? I do feel like Earl Spence is getting ready to vacate the titles, but I think the timeline is a little different. I don't think the timeline that Boots is given is the actual timeline that's going to play out. I think this whole Keith Thurman situation is just for the money, basically. It's sort of a get back at Terence Crawford for the David Evanzian situation and him ruining the negotiation. Because simply put, Earl Spence could go directly into the Terence Crawford fight if he wanted to. There's no need for the Keith Thurman fight. It doesn't matter what the WBC said. If he wanted to trump that decision by the WBC, all he had to do was say, I'm fighting Terence Crawford next and exiting the division, and it would have played out that way. So for anybody saying that this is all because of the WBC, it really has nothing to do with that, and everybody knows it. And this is the reason why a lot of people are upset about this situation. But at the end of the day, I don't blame Earl Spence. Get your money. If you're planning on doing one more welterweight fight and then moving on to 154, that's fine. The Keith Thurman situation, hey, it is what it is. You said you wouldn't fight him, but it is what it is. Go ahead and get your money. And I feel like he's going to move on to the Terence Crawford situation. I don't think there's any way for Earl Spence to leave the welterweight division without fighting Terence Crawford. His exit from the welterweight division is not going to end on that Ordanius Ugas fight. And it's definitely not going to be the end of Earl Spence's reign when he defeats Keith Thurman. There will be one more welterweight fight. Now, is he going to vacate those titles solely because of Boots? Is Boots the whole reason for the vacating of the titles? I would say Boots, Virgil, and a whole host of names standing behind those two guys are the reason Earl Spence is trying to get up through from 147. He doesn't enjoy the weight. It's harder for him to make the weight. My problem with people leaving their division where they've campaigned for a long time and had a lot of success is if you're not willing to fight the best at that division, how do you think you're going to beat the best at the next division? I just don't get it. I don't understand why he would walk away from all this success for an unknown. But if that's what he wants to do based off his weight, situation, then that's what he's going to do. But I definitely think after Thurman, you're going to see Crawford. After Crawford, he's going to, if he wins, he's going to exit. That's going to be his exit from the division. When it comes to the welterweight fight and why I believe that will be the biggest welterweight fight in history, what benefited the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight was the build-up. There was such a big build-up for that fight, and the fact that Pacquiao was so dominant, at that time. Mayweather hadn't taken a loss at that time. So those two factors coming together, and the fact that, it took so long to make the fight, made the fight huge. This fight is pretty much the same thing. You got two popular guys. one way more popular than the other. You know, that's the only difference between the Maypac and this situation, is that Manny Pacquiao was popular, Terrence Crawford is. But I think there's still a huge level of popularity surrounding this fight. If you asked 1,000 boxing fans, 1,000 welterweight fans, name two of the biggest stars in the welterweight division, the two names that's going to come out of all 1,000 of those people's mouths is Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, which means that they are the best in the division. So there's no more way in my mind do I think that if those two guys got it on, it's going to be a flop of a fight or a financial flop. I do think that there's a possibility of a stalemate because the talent levels are so high, but I don't think in any capacity that the fight would flop financially. I think it would do extremely well. It might not beat the Maypac numbers, but I think it might come in second or third to that fight. As far as Jaron Ennis being the people's champion, the problem I have with Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford is that they're kind of selfish. You know, they're more in it for the money than they are to put on good fights. And sometimes you got to be selfish, you know, and when you're looking at something as a business, you're going to have success if you're selfish within business. In entertainment, if you're selfish, it can have a serious backlash because you're trying to please people. You know, you're trying to please the masses of the people. And if you're being selfish with the way you're trying to please people, they'll turn on you in a hot second. I kind of feel like Terrence Crawford's already feeling the brunt of that. Errol Spence has had, you know, much better competition, so he's not feeling it as much yet. Best believe if Errol Spence exits 147 and drops all those titles without fighting Terrence Bud Crawford, there's going to be a problem in his career too. And he's going to feel it very quickly, you know. And once again, the reason I think Boots is going to end up as the people's champ is that I think he's already built up a reputation for being a ducked guy. And normally when you're ducked, it puts that chip on your shoulder, and you're doing things more for pride than you are for money. And pride can be a great motivating factor as long as you don't let your pride get the best of you. But I think Boots, because of the pride situation and being ducked, I think he's less likely, once he does start getting big checks, to just be doing it for the money. He seems more like he's happy being a people's champion. You know, the people kind of anointed him as the next guy up without even having a title belt. So I think once he does get a belt, he's going to be putting on more entertaining fights for the fans, and strictly for the fans and not just the money. I think you're going to see a big shift when it comes to the way things are done when Boots becomes champion. Now, you know, taking nothing away from Virgil, because Virgil could be the next guy up as well, but only time will tell, and we have to see how that's going to play out. And I can't wait to see, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all that down in the comment section below. Hit that like button for me. Share, subscribe. Holler at me on all social media platforms. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. More than likely to get a response on the tube. So holler at me over there. We are
I'm one of a kind. I'm trying to take your hoods over one at a time. I got a terrible hustle, a wonderful grind. Both of us said we real niggas, one of us lying. See me riding solo with a blunt of the pine. Shorty got a few kids, said one of them mine. I know you see me, yeah, I heard. No bag on my bird, got the swag of the year.
I wonder if they feel me in the front, don't be stern, cause I'm really what they want. I wonder if they feel me in the back, put your hand, homie, show me where you at, and say they want that, I'm what they want that, I'm what they want that, I'm what they want, I'm what they want that, I'm what they want that, I'm what they want that, I'm what they want.
Check it. Big bread is all I got my mind on. Try and get my shine on like a rhinestone. You was cuffing her at first, now you damn gone. She with a player talking talking about she need a ride home. I know she wanna lean in the lack with some green and some yak and some G's and some Max. I know she wanna chill with a star, get a skrill for the bar, get drilled in the car.